Morse code signal, the international call for help. And that marks the beginning of my program, Gilbert Talks Taxes, because as we all know, taxation with representation has not been such a good idea either. Good morning, everyone, on this 14th day of November, Saturday morning program. We are live here at the studios. My name is Gilbert Carmona. The program is Gilbert Talks Taxes. I am an enrolled agent. An enrolled agent is a person enrolled with the Internal Revenue Service. My authority comes from them to represent taxpayers in all matters. I am considered a tax expert. I'm an accountant. I prepare tax returns, business and personal, not-for-profits. I'm also a financial planner. I'm fully licensed to do all sorts of investments and insurance and all kinds of things. But mostly what I like to do on this program is talk about just what God's doing in my life and in our lives. And in it, I talk a little bit about taxes, and I talk a little bit about politics, and I talk a little bit about everything. Because it seems that taxation affects every part of our life as government does. And I'm going to get into that a little bit too. I have an office at 113 Whitesides Road. I have another office in Tryon at 226 South Trade Street, the beautiful Art Deco building just off the historic downtown Tryon. You can reach me at 828-289-9300. You can send me an email at gilbert@gilberttalkstaxes.com. I am going to talk about end of the year tax saving strategies. I'm going to talk about retirement, last minute year end retirement deductions. I'm going to get into that a little bit, but I'm going to talk about some general business income tax deductions last minute. We're at the end of the year. A lot of people call me, what can I do now? What can I do? Is there anything I can do? Now, this year, a lot of businesses did not have a high revenue income. They were shut down because of the China virus and other things that happened. So it's not as big an issue as it was the year before, when we had a full-blown Donald Trump economy that didn't seem like anything could stop it. And really, all the China virus did was put a speed bump in the way. We saw that the economy shut down, but when and as it reopened, we're not even at 50% reopen, I don't think. But as it reopened, some states are still pretty much in shutdown mode. The economy came back in a V-shaped recovery, an incredible recovery, and it just showed the strength of our economy that we had going into this thing. So, and even then, I'm still getting phone calls from people that have made a lot of money and they are concerned about paying taxes, especially people that sold real estate. And I want to welcome those of you live streaming www.wcab59.com. We look great this morning. I'm wearing a vintage tie. Todd, my engineer this morning, good morning, Todd. Todd said, I'm going to start the program, set the world on fire. I don't know that I'm going to set the world on fire this morning, but I might just maybe throw a few more logs on the fire that's already burning. I don't know if anybody heard Sidney Powell last night. She said, I'm going to release the Kraken. My wife was going over some news and things, and she said to me, what's a Kraken? And I said, well, she didn't know. Todd's looking in shock. She didn't know. She's not a big Pirates fan, okay? So sorry. So I said to her, well, it's a mythical sea monster that whoever controlled it had really had the power to unleash the Kraken, and it was a big threat. Of course, it's all mythical. Story, why are you asking me this? So she then played Sidney Powell talking about what we already know. We already know there's massive computer fraud. Massive computer fraud. This is not a glitch. This is fraud. Okay, what's happening with the presidential election. I've had people in my office all week asking me, what do you think's going to happen? I've also had some people, I actually had one person say to me this was a clear and transparent election. And I said, really, you're not serious? Oh, I'm very serious. Well, if it was a clear and transparent election, then let's go back and recount all the votes just to make sure. Oh, we don't need to do that. Yes, we do. We need to go back and we need to count all these votes. We need a national audit is what we need, and we need every vote recounted, scrubbed and recounted. Now, people are asking me, what do I think? Well, I don't like to think, I don't like to have opinions. I like to follow facts and numbers and figures. Okay, first of all, Joe Biden is not the president of the United States right now. He's not even the president-elect. Okay, he has not been certified by any state. As of when I went to bed last night, Todd, no state has certified Joe Biden as the victor. And there are people even questioning California. Real people, legitimate people, people in authority are questioning California. How do I know that any of these accusations, that there's fraud, how do I know this is real? Because I look at the backlash from the other side. If you even question the legitimacy of Biden winning, you're called whatever the name. You're a racist, you're a homophobe, you're a denier, you're a what? A bigot. A bigot. You're a bigot. If you even question it. No, we should all be locking arms and questioning it together. Okay? I'm not a bigot or anything. I'm not an ist for questioning this. We have to question it. It's what this country is founded on. This country was founded on my right to have my opinion and my opinion respected. To quote our lieutenant governor, and he is lieutenant governor elect, Mark Robinson, I am the majority. I'm the first one taxed and the last one listened to. He said that in his speech 2 years ago. I'm the first one taxed and the last one listened to, the majority of the people. And we, the majority of the people, have questions. Today in Washington, D.C., they were trying to get 1 million people. Will it be 1 million people? I don't know. The fact that 20 people showed up, well, I know for a fact 80 people showed up because I know 80 people that are there. There's a march today in Washington, and they were going to try to get a million to support our president and to call for a complete recount and all these things. The fact that there are people willing to go to Washington on a Saturday, on a weekend, and give up of their time and everything that's involved in going to Washington. If you've ever been there, it's not, you just don't go there for the price of a train ticket. I mean, it is a deal to get in there. It's a deal to find a hotel. It's a deal. Everything is ridiculously expensive. Food is, McDonald's is like a $15, it's like fine dining, the prices they charge. But it's because it's Washington and people will pay it. So there are people there today to protest this. There are tens of millions of people questioning these results. Okay? I left Cuba. My family left Cuba. Ronald Reagan made a famous quote that two of his friends were talking to a Cuban refugee, and one friend looked at another and said, "We're really lucky." And the Cuban looked at him and said, "Lucky? I had a place to escape to. What do you have?" So this is it. This is the firewall. We have nowhere to go. That's why we have to fight. That's why we have to question this. But I told Todd when I first got here that it's not even about Donald Trump anymore. This is about all future elections, all elections to come in this country. If we don't stand up and demand to know what happened or is happening and get clear, real transparent. The lady said, "Oh, it's clear. It's clear Joe Biden won." I said, "Clear as mud." He started the office of the president-elect. If he was really, by the way, that's a made-up thing. There is no office of the president-elect. That's something that the Democrat Party made up, Joe Biden made up, and they put it on a podium and made a banner, and he stood up in front of it like it's a real thing. he's occupying the office of the president-elect. I mean, well, you know what? God's got something to say about all this, and I'm going to get to that in 1 minute. But what I feel right now is betrayed. That's what I said to Todd when I walked in here. This isn't about Donald Trump anymore. We know Donald Trump won by a landslide. That's transparent. That's clear. Okay. Gilbert, how do you know this? Many reasons. Mostly the left's reaction, as I just said, because if Joe Biden had obviously won, they wouldn't be engaged in these hysterics and calling names and accusing you and all this stuff. They would just be, okay, let's just go ahead and recount the votes and let's get it over with. That would be the approach, right? When you know you won, let's just go ahead. No. No, they're on television, they're on media, they're getting rid of your Twitter account, they're closing your Facebook account, they're silencing you. No, that's not people that legitimately won. That's not what they do. People that legitimately won say, okay, let's go ahead and count them up again, like happened the first time Trump won. Remember when they recounted in Michigan and Wisconsin and these states? They started the count, got about 5 or 10% into it, and Trump was actually picked up 134 votes. And they said, we can just stop. There's no reason to keep going. We can just stop. There's nothing here. And they went right into the key areas where they were alleging fraud. So we know how this is done. Okay, so let's just do it. But to have this is just a media circus. Remember, Al Gore called himself the president for 37 days. Let's not forget that. Okay? And Donald Trump is president until January 20, when the next president, whether it's him or whoever, puts his hand on the Bible and takes the oath. Okay? Until that day, Donald Trump is president. So these things we know. Now, referring to, let me get back and close that thought, referring to releasing the Kraken. So that's what you saw it this morning on your Twitter feed? Somebody sent it to you. Somebody sent it to you on Facebook, said, we're going to release the Kraken. Okay. And then did you hear the whole Sidney Powell speech?
I heard about half of it.
About half of it. Okay. We'll go back and listen to it. It's pretty much what we all know, but she has statistical data. And I can get into a lot of statistical facts and talk about Bedford's Law. Bedford's Law is a statistical theory, which actually it's not a theory anymore. We pretty much know it's a fact. They now call it a law. Bedford's Law of statistical distribution and numbers. And I can get very technical with all these things and show you why all these things just don't add up. All these things just don't add up. We've had enough elections in this country that we know the smell of kosher, okay? We know when something's right and we know when something's wrong. And last week I left everybody with please read Isaiah and please ask God what is truth. And I got some comments. About that, and some people that were very grateful, and some people that were doing that. They were stopping and they were asking God, what is truth? What is truth? But last night, after we listened to Sidney Powell speak, and then we listened to another commentator, very interesting points, some facts point that I wanted to hear. I said to my wife, it's not about Donald Trump. This is about the fact that I feel we have been betrayed. Everything we've put our faith and trust in this country, again, our faith and trust is in God. Our faith and trust is in Jesus. But we trust our government's going to do things, and the systems that we have in place, this, James Madison called it this great experiment. We base all our experiments on the capacity of mankind for self-government. That was James Madison. That was a direct quote. We base all our experiments on the capacity of mankind for self-government. We have been let down. We have been betrayed. And my wife, doing what she always does, she reaches over and picks up her Bible. And she opened to 1 Corinthians 11 and read this to me. I'm going to go ahead. It's 1 Corinthians 11:23. Now, I'm reading out of the Amplified Bible. Read it out of this scripture holds up pretty much in every Bible, but I'm reading out of the Amplified. 1 Corinthians 11:23. This is Paul wrote a letter to Corinthians. So that's the I he's referring to. For I from the Lord himself, for I received from the Lord himself that which I passed on to you. It was given to me personally, that the Lord Jesus, on the night when he was treacherously delivered up, and while his betrayal was in progress, took bread. And when he had given thanks, he broke it and said, Take, eat. This is my body, which is broken for you. Do this to call me to remembrance. And in 25, similarly, when supper was ending, he took the cup, also saying, This cup is the new covenant, ratified and established in my blood. Do this as often as you think it, to call me to remembrance. But let me get back to that 23. The Lord Jesus, on the night when he was treacherously delivered up, and while his betrayal was in progress, he took bread. And what did he do with that bread? He served the people. So we are going to continue on a course of serving each other, of serving the people, and we're going to wait because God's got this. I don't know how. It doesn't feel good right now, but we're not going to go by how we feel. We're going to go by the word of the Lord. And the word of the Lord God gave me in 2016 was, This is Nebuchadnezzar, my servant, who obeys me. I have given it all to him. And I don't believe God would bring this man this far to turn his back on him now and on us now. I am glad for what we're seeing because we're really seeing the treachery and the betrayal. But we're going to keep serving each other. Todd, let's take a quick break, and I'm going to come back. We're going to talk a little bit about business tax planning. We're going to talk about some year-end deductions. And there is a scam I have got to talk about. This is major. Those of you, especially caretakers of elderly people, there is a scam we need to talk about. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB, AM 590, FM 100.9.
Hi there, this is Kimberly, and I'm here to tell you about Peterson's Auto Service and Detail Shop. As a woman, I'm often apprehensive about taking my car to a dirty service garage. But you can be assured that Peterson's, located at 478 Butler Road, Forest City, has an incredibly clean and safe environment where you get high-quality service at a great price. Peterson's was voted Rutherford County's best auto service 3 years in a row. So take your car to Peterson's for brakes, oil change, North Carolina inspection, tire rotation, headlight lens restoration, scratch removal, and meticulous auto detailing. That's Peterson's at 478 Butler Road, Forest City. You can call him for an appointment at 245-8889.
People come up to me and say, Gilbert, thank you for doing my tax return, and thank you for getting me that big refund. Do you have any ideas what I can do with that refund? Oh, yes, I do. Take that refund right over to NC Tractor and Farm Supply, talk to Phil, get you a brand new shiny red Massey Ferguson. That's NC Tractor and Farm Supply, Railroad Avenue. You can call Phil at 828-429-5008. By the way, mention you heard it on Gilbert Talks Taxes. I'm hoping he'll give me a discount when I go buy my brand new shiny Massey Ferguson tractor.
We are back. Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB, AM 590, FM 100.9. To finish up about Sidney Powell, with the software. So the thing about software that people that use software don't understand is that it leaves major fingerprints all over everything. You just don't go in. Anybody who's ever taken a picture with their phone Go back and look at the properties of that picture. I mean, it tells you where you were standing when you took that picture. It gives you a geo location of where you were standing when you took that picture. The data that these computers generate all at one time is just incredible. You just don't go in and push a button and, oh, let's just move 250,000 votes in this direction. It tells you everything. I've had to go in, because I deal with software where employees are responsible for entering data, and then I go and look at the software, and the data is all corrupted and messed up, and you start asking, who did this? Of course, nobody did it. It's that employee, nobody, because he's the one that does everything wrong. So nobody did it, but then I just go into the history, and it tells me what computer terminal they were sitting at when they did it. It's incredible, really, and that's just off-the-shelf software. Can you imagine what this customized software that's specially made, special function software made, with the data that it's capable of doing? No, we're no, and truth is going to come out, and we are going to know truth. Now, speaking of truth, there is a scam going on. It is a serious scam. I cannot tell you enough about how serious this scam is. So what they are doing is they are texting. They're not even calling anymore. If you're wondering why you haven't gotten phone calls saying that the IRS has a warrant out for your arrest and you're going to go to jail, it's because they're not calling anymore. Now they're texting. So they're sending text out to people, and it's the senior citizens that are really falling for this. Again, because they believe it. They don't stop, they just don't. And I guess they're not used to fraud and scams at this level. So a text will come in claiming to be from the IRS, okay? And it says, we have your stimulus payment. We need to deposit it, but we need to verify your routing and bank account number, okay? And believe it or not, people are responding and sending their routing and bank account number, thinking they're going to get a $1,200 or $2,400 deposit. There is not a new stimulus package that has been approved. There's a lot of talk about them, but nothing has been approved, okay? North Carolina is giving everybody that has a child 16 or younger $335, and that is a total of $335, regardless of how many children you have. Okay, so that's one check, $335. It is being mailed to the address on the tax return. Okay, so that's not being direct deposited. That's not being wired, transferred. There's nothing with it. You had to file the tax return for tax year 2019, and you had to have a child under the age of 16 and under on that tax return, one or more children, and you will get $335. Okay, that's North Carolina. As far as the $1,200 stimulus, there is nothing. Now, if you did not get one before, you have until November, like next week, or I think they've extended it till the end of November. It was next week. It was the 20th. Now then they were moving the date around, but pretty soon that tool that's on irs.gov is going to shut down if it hasn't already. It may have been Friday. So if you have not gotten that money, the best thing to do right now is to just pick up the phone and call the IRS and find out why you have not gotten your $1,200. That is from the first stimulus. There are people that still haven't gotten it. There's people still waiting. The tool at irs.gov says they're still waiting for more information. At this point, we don't know what to do. We have no guidance from the IRS other than to pick up the phone and call. And then there's some verification and some other things that will go on. But as far as a new stimulus, there is none, zero. So there's emails coming out, business people, there's emails coming out about PPP. I spoke with Lendio yesterday, and Cabbage and Square. These are people that were providing PPP money. There is no new PPP money coming out. There is no free money, okay? They are talking about doing something, yes, but right now nothing has been approved. And I really don't think anything is going to happen until, this presidential situation is going to take up all the available bandwidth for any legislation. Nothing is going to happen in the next, I would really be shocked if we resolved all this before December 14th or 15th. I really would be. Georgia is a complete recount, I heard. That was the last news I got. A hand recount. Yes. Oh, we don't trust software anymore. There is no anybody who's going to do a software recount. It might be where a software program is going to come in and oversight the other software program, but no, there's nothing. No, thank you. We'll just count them little black bubbles ourselves. Okay. There really should be one in Texas. I know it's not a contested, but that whole Sharpie thing needs to be looked at in Nevada. So we'll see, and whatever happens in Pennsylvania is going to happen. But I would be absolutely surprised if we had a determination mid-December. So for people that are like waking up and hoping that it's been resolved, this is going to take weeks. I think there's some kind of a deadline of November 20th, but that's just a state deadline that really is meaningless. And then electors need to be certified by the 14th or the 15th of December, something like that. I'm not sure. These dates keep moving, and I know a lot of it's opinion right now, but so will we have PPP? No. I really doubt there will be anything. I would really be surprised if anything happened this year. It could happen, but I doubt it, because Congress isn't going to do a thing, and the Senate's not going to do a thing, and the president's certainly not going to do a thing. I mean, he can't without him. So it's just all going to sit there. EIDL, that is the Small Business Administration Loan Program. That is available, but that you have to go to SBA and apply. That is not anything free coming to you. So what's important about the scam, what's important about the scam is that they're now texting the people. And they, with a phone, they see the text and they are responding to these texts, because they say, well, how did they get my number? Well, it's a computer. It just starts with one and dials. This thing can dial millions of numbers an hour, and they're just going to keep dialing numbers till they find people that respond. And it's a computer. It just does it 24 hours a day, nonstop, and it's very serious. So please, if you're a caretaker, be aware what is coming on some of these people's phones. And whatever you do, do not let them respond, because once they give that routing number and account number, and then it moves on. It's like a progression, because that's not enough information, right? So then they say, please confirm the spelling of the spelling of your name, and your birth certificate, and your birth date was, and your social security number. Please confirm all that. So once they get these people hooked and engaged, they tell them all this information. Next thing you know, the bank account is empty. So, and there's really nothing you can do at that point about it. And it's not the bank's fault. They have all that information. They can do wires. They can do all kinds of stuff. And they come in and clean out the bank account. So the best thing is just don't just know that the IRS will never text you. It used to be they will never call you. Now they will never text you. So be aware of that. And it's happening enough. People must be responding. Let's go ahead and take a break here in 1 minute, but I'm going to come back and we're going to talk about last minute year-end general business income tax deductions. Those of you that have a business out there, if you are an LLC or you are a corporation, if you're being taxed as either a partnership, you're being taxed as either an S corporation, or you're being taxed either as a C corporation. Now is a good time to stop and evaluate why you are being taxed that way. Changing your entity designation, how you're taxed. I'm not talking about changing the entity itself, but changing how you are taxed could save you a lot of money. I have a guide I'm giving for free, entity classification guide, and it goes over the different classifications and what they mean. A lot of businesses chose to be taxed as an S Corp or a C Corp or a sole proprietor decades ago, and they're not even sure why they did it. Laws have changed. I have been able to change people's entity designation and just change things, and it's been for the better. I'm not going to get into the details. Just stop and review why are you doing what you're doing, because laws have changed. Okay, and it's a good time to reevaluate, especially if you took over a family-owned business. I've got businesses that were incorporated in 1979, and they set things on course back then. Accrual versus cash. Why are you that? LIFO versus FIFO. Why do you have that kind of inventory? Well, you really need to stop and have those meetings and have those discussions. These are high-level, usually board-level meetings, but you as a small business owner can do it effectively, cheaply. Meet with somebody that knows what they're talking about. Let me send you this guide for free. Send me an email, gilbert@gilberttalkstaxes.com. Ask for the free entity classification guide. I'll email that to you. I don't even know how many pages it is. It's huge. It's a big old publication. I will be sending that to you, and we can follow up, ask me questions if you want. Let's take a break. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB AM 590, FM 100.9.
As we get ready for this year's tax season, there's one thought on everyone's mind. Will Gilbert's hair look fabulous this year? Oh, yes, it will. How can I say that? Because I go to Robin Saunders at RSL Salon. Whether it's a good haircut, a pedicure, or a manicure, you can count on RSL Salon. Call Robin at 828-289-9110 because everyone deserves to look fabulous.
We are back. Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB, AM 590, FM 100.9. Yes, those of you watching me live streaming, www.wcab59.com, you do know that I do look fabulous today. I am wearing my vintage striped tie, got a pocket square, and my hair, of course, from Robin. Todd, I think I do look fabulous. So, last minute, general business income tax deductions. I've shared this story about this man every year. He literally, the last week of the year, he goes and he buys. Now his business uses a lot of vehicles, but he goes and buys vehicles. So I know to be ready. The first year he caught me off guard. The first year was December 31st, and he's at a car dealership somewhere in South Carolina, and he calls me. He says, "How much money do I have in this account?" And he goes, I need to buy some cars. I need to spend some money. I need to get my expenses down. And here I was at like 8 o'clock at night on the phone with this guy, looking at his bank account, telling him how much money. He does it every year. So I'm a little proactive on it now. Now I start talking about it in November. So, there's two ways. If you have a business, there's two ways to reduce your tax burden. You either bring in less money, right? You reduce your income, or you increase your expenses. Okay, and this is tax avoidance. This is legal. We're talking about legally reducing your tax bill. So, one of the things that I tell people is, let's talk about reducing your income. If you're on cash accounting, cash basis accounting, let me back up and explain that. There's two kinds of accounting in business. There's cash basis, there's accrual accounting. Now, there are some other very, very hybrid methods, and you may be using one of those methods in your business, but those are very unique and very specific, very industry specific, and I'm not even going to get into that because you're such a small percentage of what's going on, and there's a reason you're doing that. Most businesses are using either cash or accrual. Okay, let me explain what they are. Cash accounting is just that, cash accounting. Okay, I spend $1 to buy supplies or pay employees or whatever my legitimate business expenses, and I record it as an expense the day I spent it. I spent $1. $5 comes in when somebody buys my product. I put it on the books that day. November 14th, 2020, Todd paid me $5. Boom, it's on my books as income. So I spent $1, $5 came in. I have a $4 profit for that day. Woohoo. Honey, the door stays open one more day. We did good. Simple. Cash accounting is simple. Accrual accounting is when you accrue the debt or you accrue the income. So Todd calls me on the phone and he says, "Gilbert, I want to buy that thing from you for $5. Let's go ahead. I'm going to give you a PO number or whatever method they're using. Let's go ahead. I want to buy that thing." I put it on the books that day, right when Todd placed that order. I accrued it. Now, you say, well, Todd hasn't paid you the $5 yet. No, he hasn't. The check is in the mail. We know what that means. The check is in the mail. Or even if he's going to pay me with a voucher or whatever payment method he's going to do, 10 net 30, whatever method we have, it still goes on my books as income, as a sale, the day he gave me that PO. Likewise, when I call my supplier and I say I need to order these widgets for $1 and I give them my PO over the phone, or I email it or text it or whatever. I mean, I'm old school. I remember we used to have to fax the PO. Fax your PO over to me. And we use a purchase order system. So you fax it to them. Then you can expense that $1 that day, right then and there, the day you accrued it. But wait, you haven't paid it yet. No, I haven't paid it yet, but I've committed to pay it. And I will pay it. Somewhere down the line, in whatever methodology, that will be paid. But for accounting purposes and for tax purposes, I post it as an expense. So I post it as an income, as an expense. Now, people say, oh, that's very confusing. No, it's not really confusing, and it's actually a true picture of your financial situation. What are we doing with a tax return? What are we doing with financial statements? We're trying to portray a true picture of the business on that day. So if the business has all these purchase orders, $1 million worth of purchase orders, that $1 million is going to come in. I mean, these are orders that you have. That should be on the books somewhere. Okay? So that's one way to address it. So you're either going to be on cash or accrual. So some of these strategies work only with one or the other. So I will identify if you're a cash basis or you're an accrual basis. Okay? And for people that made that determination, because you have to tell the IRS which one you're using, you made that determination many years ago, you may want to stop and look at that also. Why are we on cash basis accounting? Why are we on accrual basis accounting? It's just to ask the question. A lot of times I've been in high level board meetings where everybody's sitting around and you ask that question, they'll just look at each other like, I don't know. And sometimes it's worth the exercise to look at it and see, would there be a benefit to us to change, or is the benefit to just keep the way we're going? Likewise, on another subject, which I'm going to get into later meaning weeks from now, is LIFO and FIFO, first in, first out, inventory methodology. If you're an inventory person in your business and you're storing inventory, you have a methodology for tax purposes, for accounting purposes, first in, first out. As you know, especially right now where prices of things are just crazy, they're high, they're low, plastics has gone up, fuel products have gone down, different prices have just been all over the road. You may have bought that whatever it is you buy 6 months ago for $5. Well, today it may be $10. So when you buy it and put it on the shelf, you put it away at the shelf at the price that you bought it. Well, to make it even and to smooth the waters when you do accounting, we're either gonna have a first in, first out inventory method or a last in, first out inventory method. Now, again, like anything else, there are some other hybrid methods, but they're not. The majority is either FIFO or LIFO. Again, there are others, but if you have other, you know why, and they're sophisticated usually, sophisticated systems, and you know why you're doing that. But stop and look at that. What's giving you the greatest tax advantage? And this is important. This is so important that once you start with one methodology, I'm talking about the inventory system, LIFO or FIFO, once you start with it, you can't just change midstream. You actually have to ask the IRS. You say, I've had first in, first out, I want to change it. And explain to them why. And they have to send you a letter accepting the reason why. Because this can really change your accounting and it can turn your books completely around. So this is important. But please stop and at least have that conversation at the board level, at the ownership level, have that conversation and see what is the tax effect. Why are we doing this? I've been in so many meetings where they can't tell you why. They can't get, well, this is just what we've always done. Yeah, exactly. That's the problem, what you've always done. So the biggest last minute thing, if you're a cash basis accounting, is just stop billing your customers. Okay, stop billing your clients, patients, whatever. You can do that. If your revenues are too high, as we're getting down now into the end of the year, just stop billing them, because we're trying to reduce that income. Okay, so stop billing, postpone billing, or at least just stagger billing and push it off into next year. Okay, I know that sounds easy, and some people are worried about getting paid, and it's kind of counterintuitive to do this, but this can have a huge effect on your cash flow and reduce that income, and then post it for next year. We're posting it for next year, or deferring it for next year. Let me say it that way. So another strategy, it's really not a strategy, but there's a correct way to use credit cards for expenses. Okay, now this only works if you're a single member LLC or a sole proprietor and you file a Schedule C tax return for your business. The day you charge a purchase for your business, or the day you charge a purchase for your business on your business or your personal credit card is the day you deduct the expense. Okay, let me say that again. Again, this is for single member LLC or sole proprietor filing a Schedule C. And a lot of people ask me about this. They'll say when can I claim this expense? Okay, if you use your business or your personal credit card and you go out and you make a charge, you can expense that thing the day you made the charge. Okay, so as a Schedule C taxpayer, you should consider using your credit cards for last-minute purchases of office supplies or other business necessities. So here we are, it's the end of the year. Our revenues are there. We don't have a lot of expenses. We'd like to reduce that profit. So we're going to reduce the profit by spending some more money. But you don't have the cash flow, or you want to keep the cash flow. You've got so much cash in the bank, you don't want to go out and spend your cash. There are things you're going to need. You're going to need supplies. You're going to need office supplies. You're going to need whatever things that you're going to need. Maybe it's that new computer, because we can do Section 179 depreciation and expense that whole computer. We can capitalize it right now. Let's expense it. You need a computer. You need a piece of office equipment that might be a little more expensive than you want to, put the cash out for. I mean, with servers starting at anywhere from $2,500 to $5,000, and you need one, that's a big hit to the cash flow. So you want to defer it. Okay, if you use your credit card, and I don't favor carrying a balance on a credit card, but you don't have to pay that credit card now till next year, especially if you do it in December. You're not going to have to pay that until next year. That can smooth out that cash flow. Or if you've got where you can carry a balance 0% for a year or for 6 months or whatever, like at Lowe's, where you can buy materials and you don't have to make payments for 6 months, or you have 18 months same as cash, or whatever promotion they're running. You can use that because you can expense it right now. You can buy materials. You're a contractor. You've got a $10,000 line of credit on your Lowe's credit card, and you're going to be using these materials, but you may not need them till January. You may not need them till February, depending on the weather and when will the other subs be ready. But you will need it at some point. You can go ahead and buy it before December 31st, okay, and go ahead and expense it. If you operate a business as a corporation, and if the corporation has a credit card in the corporate name, the same rule applies. But the thing there is, it's got to be a credit card in the name of the corporation if it's a corporation. Now, there's a couple of ways around that. You can loan the corporation the money, but that's some other details. But just know that this is a strategy and this works. But if you operate your business as a corporation and you're a personal owner of the credit card, the corporation must reimburse you to make that tax deduction. So just be aware of that little rule, and there is a way to work that around, but you just have to address it. You've got to address that. Okay, and these expenses have got to be made before December 31st. Okay, and you actually have till midnight. Like I said, the man is at the car dealership at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night buying cars on December 31st. Of course, the car dealership loves it. Let's go ahead and take a quick break, and I'm going to come back and talk about one more, and then I'm going to finish by quoting probably one of our greatest presidents. I've got a very, very interesting quote from Ronald Reagan. Let's take a break. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB AM 590, FM 100.9.
I want to tell you about a little-known Rutherford County gem, Integrity Marble and Granite, located at 287 Shiloh Road in Forest City. They are the premier stone fabrication company in the western North Carolina region. They specialize in granite, marble, and natural stone, offering complete design and installation. Their design center and Kohler showroom features vanities, decorative accessories, bathroom, and kitchen fixtures. You do not have to go to Charlotte or Asheville for this kind of quality. We have it right here in Forest City. Stop in their showroom and browse their beautiful displays, or you can call 828-247-8801 for a free quote. You can also go to their website, www.integritymarblegranite.com, and look at the pictures and see samples of their available materials. Now, mention you heard it on Gilbert Talks Taxes, and they will give you $100 off any sink purchase. That's Integrity Marble and Granite.
Let Jesse James Railroad Express be your daily lunch stop. Enjoy delicious burgers, clubs, fresh salads, and much more. And now Jesse has an incredible daily lunch special that you cannot resist. 2 hot dogs, a bag of chips, and a 16-ounce drink for only $4.99. Now that's what I call a lunch special. Now don't forget your refreshing Coke float, Dr. Pepper float, or an orange creamsicle float, or a hand-dipped ice cream cone. Open Monday through Friday, 11 till 6, Saturday, 11 till 4, closed Wednesday and Sundays. Located at 531 Railroad Avenue in Rutherfordton, call 828-447-4644 for takeout orders. All aboard the Jesse James Railroad Express. And Mondays only, mention this ad, get a regular hot dog with mustard, chili, and onions for only 99 cents.
Back. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes, because, as we all know, taxation with representation has not been such a good idea either. That's why we have to have these conversations about how to successfully avoid taxes. By the way, tax avoidance is in the tax code. It is allowed. As a matter of fact, there was even a judge one time who said in his argument, because this has been discussed often, he said it is the taxpayer's duty to avoid taxation, to reduce his tax debt. It's not something that, oh, you're somehow wrong for doing this. No, it is your duty to do this. Now, tax avoidance should not be confused with tax evasion, which, of course, that is illegal. No, we're trying to avoid taxes. Okay, one more business, and I run into this. This is something I actually see, and it's frustrating when I see it. There are people that think, I've already taken too many deductions. I don't want to raise a red flag. Okay, there is no such thing as a red flag. Okay, now there are some anomalies that if you put them on your tax return, they're gonna like look at it and say, what is this? There are things that are just out of line. You know, you're not going to give 80% of your money to a charity. You're not going to, there's just things. You're not going to lose, your business is going to lose money year after year after year for 30 years. Some businesses do, just by the nature of what they do, but these are very tight margins, and it's not these massive things. There are people that lose incredible amounts of money one year only to make it the following year because the business cycle of what they do. But there are people that just assume that if I do something, it's going to be a red flag. 50%, I've been told, 50% of all audits are random. The computer at the IRS will just spit it out. I say you've won the IRS lottery if you get an audit letter that your business has been audited. Many of them are random. And if they're specifically auditing something for a reason, I've got one of those now. People came to me for help, not clients, came to me for help. They did their own accounting. They did all their internal bookkeeping. They did everything, and the IRS had some issues with them, some things they were doing. You will get a very specific letter telling you what it is they're looking for. Okay, so don't ever assume that you're taking too many deductions. If your deductions are legitimate and legal, they are just that, legitimate and legal. Okay, there's not a number that's too many. Oh, we've hit that number. It doesn't work that way. You should never stop documenting your deductions, and you should always claim all your rightful deductions. I have met way too many business owners, and especially it's new business owners that don't always seem to get it. They're the ones who are saying, well, that just seems like it's wrong, especially the first year you start a business. Because the first years, it's usually 3 to 5 years. You know, anybody that thinks they're going to make a profit, a big profit, the first year they're in business, something's wrong with your business model. It just is, because the first year in business, you're just bleeding cash all over the place, because you've got equipment, you've got startups, you've got rents, you've got security deposits, just things that are expensive. And you're not getting the return on investment on these purchases the first year. So a lot of new business owners won't claim their deductions, and they're afraid to produce a business loss. Oh, no, they'll say, I lost money. Yes, exactly, you did. Now, why? Why would you let that happen? And what happens is, if you have a business loss, you create what's called an NOL, a net operating loss. We actually carry that forward into the next year. And so that's an advantage, because the IRS understands this. They understand that not every business is profitable every year. Okay, and people lose money. And NOLs, net operating losses, actually have some advantages. There's some things I know to do with them. You can actually go back and apply them to some prior years, or you can carry them forward for a certain number of years. And I would be surprised, again, I am surprised, either they're just naive or they don't really understand business when people come and say, oh, we're going to be making, whatever amount of money my first year. And then when I sit down and start crunching the numbers with them, they're like, no, that's not how this was going on in my mind at all. And I'm like, well, because this is the reality of it. And the reality of it, you've got these expenses. So do not be afraid to take all your business expenses, document them, and especially mileage. Okay, I'm going to end the business deduction talk with that, with the mileage. Track all your miles. Keep a log. It needs to be a paper log. But just because you're tracking mileage doesn't mean you're going to stop saving the receipts for gas, oil changes, and maintenance. Even simple maintenance, basic oil changes, save those receipts. Why? Because those receipts usually will have mileage on there, and that will verify your log. That's a third-party verification of your log. So you're keeping a mileage log, you're driving for business, you write off all your miles. If, in June you claimed your odometer had this many miles, and you've got a body shop invoice, or you've got a mechanic's invoice, oil change invoice showing the mileage, that somebody documented the mileage, there you go. That is your proof, and you've audit proofed that log. And I've seen it work. If you go to your mechanic, especially these small local mechanics, they may not be paying attention. They just want to handwrite you a quick receipt. Just ask them to go ahead and stick that mileage on there. Say, Bob, if you don't mind, just go ahead in your handwriting on your thing, so it's part of your thing. And usually their receipts will even have a little box for it. They'll have mileage in, mileage out, or just mileage, car mileage, whatever. It'll be on there. If you go to a dealership, it's automatic. Their computer does it. So that's a very important little document to keep. So keep those receipts. Don't ever assume you're writing too much off. And you cannot save receipts from one year to the next. I actually had that happen. Somebody brought me all these receipts. We sorted them, went through them, do what we do. And in it, there were receipts from, and like we did 2019, there were receipts from 2017 and 2018, which I set aside, as I do, because I say, hey, put these with this is a new client, put these with your old tax records. And the person said to me, oh no, I want to go ahead and write those off this year. I saved those because we had plenty of write-offs the year before. And it was a substantial amount of money. I mean, substantial to me. It was thousands of dollars. And I said, well, no, it doesn't work that way. I can't just take them from last year and apply them to this year. It doesn't. No, you do them in the year that you do them in. And the person said, oh, really? So I looked to see if it was worth amending the old tax returns. It really wasn't. But he was worried about having too many deductions. Todd, how much time do we have left? Okay, so if you want some of these deductions, please email me, Gilbert at gilberttalkstaxes.com. I've got some of this stuff printed up. I can give this to you. Also, I'm giving the guide away, the entity classification guide. That's a great guide if you are an LLC, an Inc., a Corp., a partnership. Take a step back and review why you chose that entity classification with the IRS, and is there any tax advantage to changing? And you can change, and you can change before the end of the year. So ask for that. Again, Gilbert at Gilbert Talks Taxes. My office number is 828-289-9300. And the other thing, Todd, the other thing. Oh, husband and wife joint ventures. Those of you that want that information too. Again, Gilbert at gilberttalkstaxes.com. Now, one last thing about retirement, some last-minute retirement strategies. You can pull money out of your 401k IRA because of COVID. You can pull money out up to $100,000, not pay a 10% penalty if you do it before December 31st of 2020. Okay, now this is for individuals now. This is not businesses. I'm switching gears. This is for an individual. If you have a 401k or an IRA or any kind of deferred plan, you can take out to $100,000. If you're 59 and a half or younger, you will not have to pay the 10% penalty. If you're 59 and a half or older, either way, you have to pay the tax. We can defer the tax for 3 years. We can equally split that tax up and defer it for 3 years. So when you call them and ask for the money to be removed, be sure to tell them this is COVID related. The bar on COVID related is so low. Okay, Todd has given me the 2 minutes. Ronald Reagan made a speech, and I'm going to quickly read you one thing from it. I want to leave you with this thought. Tell me when I have 1 minute, Todd. I want to leave you with this thought. But I want you to bear in mind that this speech was written in 1964. This speech was written September 27th, 1964. Ronald Reagan said, "You and I have a rendezvous with destiny. We will preserve for our children this, the last best hope of man on earth, or we will sentence them to take the first step into 1,000 years of darkness. If we fail, at least let our children and our children's children say of us, we justified our brief moment here. We did all that could be done." Public servants say, always with the best intentions, what greater service we could render if only we had a little more money and a little more power. But the truth is that outside of the legitimate function, government does nothing as well or as economically as the private sector. Yet anytime you or I question the schemes of do-gooders, were denounced as being opposed to their humanitarian goals, it seems impossible to legitimately debate their solutions with the assumption that all of us share the desire to help the less fortunate. They always tell us we're against and never for anything. Ronald Reagan wrote this in 1964. What Solomon said is true. There's nothing new under the sun, and very little changes. I'll be back next Saturday. This is Gilbert. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB, AM 590, FM 100.9.